Hi, this is Issa Nakazwa, and we are here with Voices of the Community at Arts for a Better Bay Area Art Summit 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you just tell us your name and who you're representing today?
Sure. My name is Ralph Remington, and I'm Director of Cultural Affairs at the San Francisco Arts Commission.
Yeah, everyone's like, you need to talk to him. This is a big question, but can you tell us a little bit in your words, like how has the pandemic impacted the work that you do and reshaped the way you're thinking about rebuilding the communities that you work for?
I think it's definitely shaped the work that we do in that first we had to get out funds to artists to keep them sustained during the pandemic. So we tried to, change the way we did our grant making, went from more of a programs-based grant-making strategy to an operations-based grant-making strategy, so giving more operations grants so people could have the money to do with what they wanted to sustain their organizations as opposed to working on specific projects since we were on lockdown.
Right.
So that is as far as looking at ways that we integrate with each other in our community, how we have dialogue with each other, taking down our community silos, kind of breaking those barriers, so that we can start working together in a more fluid fashion, doing things like maybe a Bay Area cultural festival, San Francisco cultural citywide festival, those kinds of things to really start thinking in new ways, especially as our downtown core has become pretty vacant and deactivated. That's a way to start activating that core, a way to start bringing people in, to start really re-energizing our urban core.
Yeah, everyone we've talked to today so far has mentioned this need to come together within our ecosystem of the arts and be more interdependent. Are you seeing that happen? Like, do you feel hopeful about that?
I do feel hopeful. I think that we'll get there. As the mayor says, San Francisco has been through this before, on the dot-com bubble and all of those things that happened in the past, even going back to the gold rush, but we always recuperate, we always rebound. And I think that will happen this time as well.
You kind of just answered it, but what would you just say to, I know I keep hearing this dominant narrative that San Francisco's dead or going through like some sort of death. Yeah. I know you just said like we Phoenixed before, but like what would you say to someone who's like feeling really cynical about being able to sustain themselves here as either an artist or an arts organization?
I think that's real, right? That conversation is real, and to be able to sustain yourself as an artist in San Francisco is really tough if you don't have a gig or if you don't have a regular source of employment. So, those struggles are good, and obviously a lot of it is based in housing and being able to have affordable housing so that you can live here in the first place. I think a lot of it's going to rely on kind of some future thinking. If we look at things like digital platforms and broadening our arts sharing experience to the digital platform level, because I really think that the live performance is going to be a premium experience, and the digital performance and the digital exhibition will be what people experience more in the future. I think already live performance has become inaccessible for a lot of people. Live events have become inaccessible as far as ticket pricing, getting sitters, paying for that, paying for parking when you come in, as opposed to being able to turn on your TV set, flip on a channel and see a performance, right? So we got kind of used to that during pandemic. So I think it's a kind of rethinking our narrative in the same way that sports did a long, long time ago. They got the jump, right? So sports figured out, it's not just who we can bring into the stadium, who we can broadcast and amplify that message to and get those participants that way. So more people are participating, watching sports globally on flat screens than actually attend sports performances. And I think that'll happen with arts in the future.
How do you, I have only one more question, but just a quick follow-up is how do you see isolation factoring into like accessibility? Because we need to innovate, we need to create these digital experiences to be more inclusive, but then the counter to that is we're seeing increased isolation, and a lot of the symptoms from that are exacerbated right now. So how do you combat isolation within that shift and transition?
That's a good question. I think one of the ways to combat is that is through festivals, through markets, through gathering spots and gathering events, pop-up events, street theater, and in the streets, things that bring people into the streets, bring them together to have dance parties or food festivals or cultural festivals. Those things, I think, will be more and more of those things will be what's needed in the future to activate the community. But at the same time, broadening that digital experience will give artists another revenue stream of support, because then they can get revenues from digital experiences as well as from the live experience itself. So I think doing a both and kind of strategy as opposed to an either or.
I love that. I was just going to say it's a both and or a more is more instead of one over the other.
That's right.
And then
just like sports.
Just like sports, yes.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that because I feel like people get overly emphasizing on the digital and then miss out on the core, which is building culture and building our connection.
Yes.
And the last question is, what are you most excited for today? It's like the first time folks are gathering like this in a while.
It's great to see all these folks, right? And some of these folks I've never even met before in person because, I started my job in January 21. And so I know a lot of them through, the Zoom, the flat screen, right? But I don't know them in person. And sometimes when they walk up to me in person, I'm like, and then I go, oh yeah, that's who it is.
We have bodies.
Yes, it's three-dimensional,
We're so used to just being shoulders with heads.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. We know you're a person in demand, so have a great time today.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.